Okay, בואו נמשיך. כלל ח' הלכה ה'. Still speaking about הלכות לשון הרע. בכל זה האיסור של לשון הרע הוא דווקא על איש שעל פי דין תורה הוא עדיין בכלל עמיתך. The prohibition of Lashon Hara is regarding speaking about a man who is still categorized, like we said, as Amitecha, part of your nation. Dehainu Am she'itcha b'Torah u'mitzvot. He's a member of your people on par with you, respect to his observance of Torah and mitzvot. Aval otan anashim shemakiram sheyesh b'hem apikorsut. With regards to people who have heretical ideas, we call them apikorsim. Mitzvah leganotam ulbazotam. It's a mitzvah to debase them, it's a mitzvah to disparage them. Ben bifnehem, ben shelo bifnehem. Whether it's in front of them or whether in their absence. Bekol ma shehu ro'eh alehem, regarding everything one sees them do, or sheshomeh alehem, or hears about them. Dichtiv, as the pasuk says, the pasuk which describes offending others or slandering another Jew, lo tonu ishit amito, each of you shall not aggrieve amito, your fellow Jew, velo telech rachil ba'amecha, or don't be a talebearer ba'amitecha, vehem enam bichlal zeh. These heretics are not in this category. She'enam osim ma'aseh amecha, because they're not behaving in a way that represents your people. And therefore you could aggrieve them. V'ne'emar, halo. Okay, so he's gonna talk about what classifies a heretic. Okay. Yes, I know what you're talking about. V'ne'emar, and it's also stated, halo mesanecha Adonai esna ubitkomemecha et kotat. Pasuk in Tehillim says, while your enemies Hashem I will hate, and those who rise up against you I will contest. Ve'apikoros nikra hakofer b'Torah u'banevuah miYisrael. An apikoros is defined as someone who denies the authenticity of the Torah and as well the legitimacy of prophecy of the Jewish people. Ben beTorah shebichtav, ben beTorah shebe'al peh. There's no difference whether he denies the authenticity of the written Torah or the oral Torah. Va'afilu hu omer kol haTorah min hashamayim. Even if he concedes and says that the Torah comes from heaven, chutz mi pasuk echad, except for one pasuk, or mikal vachomer echad, or one Talmudic kal vachomer, or gzera shava, or diktuk echad, or inference, gam hu baklal hazeh, he's still included in this category of apikoros. Now, that's halacha hey. V'davka in shama mehem be'atzmo divrei apikorsut. This only applies if you specifically heard from that person, okay, something that constitutes apikorsut. Aval im acherim amrulo. But let's say other people told you about what this guy did. Asur lismoch al ze leganotam. You are not allowed to rely on this second-hand information to disparage this person. Ben bifnehem, ben shelo bifnehem, whether in their presence or in their absence. V'gam eno lehachlit davar ze balev. As well, you cannot even believe a report in one's mind. Kedin isur kabbalat lashon hara, which is the same law that we learned about accepting lashon hara, kanitzka le'el bichal vav, which we explained in rule number 6 earlier. Rak tzarich lo le'et ata lachus le'atzmo. Just like over there, you weren't allowed to believe it. Here, but you are allowed to keep it in your mind. So too here, you can entertain the possibility, but not believe it. V'gam le'ashir la'acherim baseter. One can also caution a person privately, shelo yitchabru le'et ata imahem, with regards to associating themselves with this individual, ad she'itbarer hadavar, until the matter becomes clarified. V'kol ze davka bishmi'a be'alma. All of this applies only through mere hearsay. But if these individuals have already been established as an apikoros, dino ke'ilu makiram be'atzmo, then in that situation you can assume that you can classify that person as an apikoros. So if everybody knows that this person denies the Torah, but you haven't heard it yourself, okay, but from him, if everyone already classifies him as an apikoros, Therefore, you can then go along and disparage him for what he's done and what he said. V'da'od, you also have to note, halacha 7, de'im muchzak ba'ir la rasha. If a certain individual has been established as a rasha, an evildoer, not because he's an apikoros, he's just known to be a rasha, but because he's engaged in other forbidden matters, shemutar avuram leganoto, on account of which it's permissible to disparage that person because he's repeatedly done and committed those averot in the eyes of everybody, and everybody knows that this person does that. And we've actually spoken about this earlier in Klal Dalet. Gam ken dina hachi. Then the same law as an apikoros applies to this person. Ve'eno muchzak, ve'ezehu muchzak. Who is considered an established rasha? Now that you know, if everybody knows that so and so person has frauded the government with taxes, okay, and it's been caught, everybody knows, and you can speak about it. But what is considered muchzak? What is considered established? Kol shehuskam bifnei anshe ha'ir la rasha. Anyone who is universally considered a rasha by the inhabitants of the city, ad shelo yipol lahem bo safek, to the degree that they have no doubt about his behavior. Machmat shmuot haraot sheyotzot alav tamid, because of the negative reports that circulate about his involvement, whether it is minyane ne'uf, matters of immorality, b'kayotze bazeh, or other transgressions. Devarim shenitpashet yediat isuram b'kol Israel. These are matters that everybody knows is asur from the Torah. You don't have to tell that. Every Jew knows about lotin af, about don't commit adultery or matters of immorality. So therefore, if it's known that this guy was doing certain things, or this woman was doing certain things, and has been proven, then you can speak Lashon Hara about that. It's not even Lashon Hara, it's allowed. It's permissible, okay, to debase and disparage this person based on the averot that they've done. Aval, im yatsa alav kol be'alma bilvad. If all you've heard was a rumor circulating about this person, okay, or their behavior, asur lismoch al ze leganoto chas v'shalom. You wouldn't be allowed to rely on this rumor and disparage this person, God forbid. Vafilu lehachlit balev asur. It's even forbidden to believe in his heart that the rumor is true. Kemo shebanu le'ed b'kal zayin, like we spoke earlier in the 7th rule. Ve'af she'areti me'odatik din hazeh. He says over here in brackets, I was very hesitant about transcribing this halacha, the halacha that's saying Lashon Hara about a rasha is allowed. Mipenei ba'alei Lashon, because I was fearful about habitual Lashon Hara speakers. Keshishmeu al echad shemetz devar ma, who upon hearing about the slightest flaw of a person, tekef yachziku et ha'ish hahu lemuchzak beresha viganu oto. They're all automatically going to decide that this guy must be a rasha gamur, and they're going to start speaking. The fact that the guy has one flaw, who doesn't have a flaw, everybody has a flaw, they're now going to jump to conclusions and say, I can speak about this guy whatever I want. Attributing the license to this work. They're going to say, as Chaim said, I'm allowed to do it. The one little flaw that he has. At the same time, I decided not to omit this section about saying Lashon Hara about a rasha. Because the Gemara in Masechet Bava Batra, the Chachamim talk about Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai had a dilemma whether or not to publicize various fraudulent measuring practices to teach merchants what to avoid. Back then, there was a lot of swindlers in the community that what?
Now too.
Okay, yeah, also, but when it came to weights, when it came to weights, that's how they used to measure things, okay? And he used to go and publicize this to teach people that you can't cheat. So he said, Amara, Umehaikra Amara, Rabbi Yochanan decided to state these practices And the reason why he did so was based on the following pasuk: Ki yesharim darchei Adonai v'tzadikim yelchu bam u'posheim yikashlu bam. Because the ways of Hashem are upright, the righteous will walk in them, and the sinners will stumble in them. So we see that it is proper to teach these laws for the benefit of the righteous, even though at the risk of causing some people might come to pervert the Torah's teachings and come to stumble on them. But nevertheless, he felt, I have to teach this law. If a person is a Rasha Gamur, you're allowed to speak Lashon Hara, even though there might be one guy that might twist this law and come and take one small thing where the guy who's not a Rasha Gamur and just use that as an excuse to speak Lashon Hara because he's an habitual Lashon Hara speaker. Okay? He said, even though there will be that time where a guy will do that, because I can't refrain from teaching this law, and that's why he did. Okay, Bezrat Hashem. Looks like tomorrow we have a Mishmar, but Bezrat Hashem next week we'll continue that.